We met at a housewarming party a few years ago. She was standing by the bookshelf, talking about some novel she was editing. Her voice carried this calm confidence that made everyone listen. I remember spilling my drink because I couldn't stop staring at her smile. Her name was Rachel, and she was everything I didn't know I needed. She talked about stories like they were living things. I asked her about her favorite book, and she smiled before answering. That conversation lasted 4 hours. By the end of the night, it felt like I'd known her forever. We started dating soon after, and everything just clicked. Rachel was funny, stubborn, and passionate in a way that made life brighter. She'd dance barefoot in the kitchen when her coffee brewed. She'd read out loud from her manuscripts like she was performing on stage. I built furniture for our tiny apartment. She filled it with books. We were broke but happy. When I proposed 2.5 years later, she cried before she said yes. We planned a small wedding by the lake where we'd had our first date. Everything felt simple and perfect back then. Her parents, though, were a different story. Charles and Linda Whitmore were the kind of people who noticed brands before names. Their house looked like a magazine cover, but their smiles felt rehearsed. From the first dinner, I could feel the judgment in the air. Charles asked about my job like he was testing me. "So, Ethan, any big projects coming up?" He already knew the answer. Linda kept mentioning Rachel's ex, Michael. Apparently, he worked at some investment firm in New York. They said his name like it tasted expensive. Rachel would squeeze my hand under the table, whispering, "Ignore them." I tried. But every dinner, every question, every smirk chipped away at something. They made me feel small, without ever raising their voices. I told myself love would be enough to bridge the gap. After all, Rachel wasn't like them. She rolled her eyes at their country club gossip. She told me I was her safe place. I believed her. I worked long hours at the firm, saving for our wedding, planning our future. She'd fall asleep on the couch, waiting for me to come home. I'd cover her with a blanket and wonder how I got so lucky. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at me while I drafted designs. She'd say, "You look happiest when you're creating something." And I was. I didn't care that her family saw me as average. What mattered was that she didn't. Or at least, that's what I thought. Looking back now, I see the cracks that were already there. Little moments when she hesitated before introducing me to her parents' friends. The way she'd change the subject when money came up. I ignored them because love made me blind. I thought loyalty could outlast pride. I thought we were untouchable. But I was about to learn how fragile love becomes when approval is currency. It happened on a Thursday evening, after one of the longest days of my career. I came home exhausted, dreaming of dinner and quiet conversation. The apartment was too still, the kind of silence that felt heavy. Rachel sat at the kitchen counter, staring at her laptop. No music, no coffee brewing, no "hey babe," just silence. I set my keys down, waiting for her to look up. She didn't. "Rach, you okay?" I asked. She blinked like she'd just come out of a trance. "I had lunch with my parents today," she said softly. Something in her tone made my stomach twist. "Oh yeah, how'd that go?" I tried to sound casual. "They're concerned," she said, still not meeting my eyes. "Concerned about what?" "About us, about the wedding, about whether you're the right choice for me." Her words landed like a punch I didn't see coming. I waited for her to laugh, to say they were being ridiculous. But she didn't. Instead, she sighed and said, "They just made me think about things." "What things?" I asked quietly. She finally looked up. Her eyes were tired, unsure. "They think you're comfortable, that you don't push yourself enough." I felt the air leave my lungs. After years of working late nights, saving, planning, I was just comfortable. She went on, talking about potential, money, stability. Her voice was calm, almost rehearsed. It wasn't her speaking, it was them. "Rachel," I said, Are you saying you agree with them? She twisted her engagement ring, staring at her hands. I don't know, maybe they have a point. I stood there, staring at the woman I thought I knew. So after everything, that's what you think of me? Average? It's not like that, she said quickly. It's just, I grew up expecting certain things. A certain lifestyle. I laughed quietly, not because it was funny, but because it hurt. Wow, so this is what love means to you. A lifestyle. She looked like she wanted to take it back, but didn't know how. I'm just scared, she said. Scared of what? Of choosing wrong. The words hung there, heavy and final. For 3 years, I thought we were choosing each other every day. Now it sounded like she was choosing an exit. In movies, this is where the guy fights for the girl. He begs, he promises, he compromises. But something inside me snapped. All the years of proving myself, of trying to belong, suddenly felt pointless. If you think you can do better, I said quietly, then you should. She looked shocked, maybe expecting me to plead. Ethan, I didn't say it's over, I'm just thinking. Yeah, I said, that's the problem, you're thinking like them. I walked past her, my chest burning, my heart numb. In the bedroom, I packed a small bag, not even sure why. I just knew something had broken that couldn't be fixed. She called my name once, her voice shaking. But I didn't turn around. Because sometimes silence says everything words can't. I didn't sleep that night. The bed felt too big, too empty, too full of what-ifs. I kept staring at the ceiling, replaying every word she said. Maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe she didn't mean it like that. But deep down, I knew she did. Around 2 in the morning, I got out of bed and opened my laptop. I typed my name into Google, something I'd never done before. And there it was, pages of articles, interviews, and press releases. My project, the Riverside development, was everywhere. Architectural Record, Ohio Magazine, Columbus Business First. They called it visionary, transformative, the future of downtown. And my name was right there. Lead designer, Ethan Carter. For a minute, I just stared at it. All this time, I'd been too focused on the work to notice the noise. Too humble to realize how much attention it had gotten. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. Rachel's younger brother, Tom, had posted about the project. Pictures from the construction site, my blueprints, even a shout-out. He'd written, "My sister's fiancé is leading this amazing design. So proud." That post was from 3 weeks ago, which meant her parents already knew. They knew exactly how well I was doing. They just didn't care. They looked me in the eye and pretended I was beneath them. And Rachel believed them. That's when the anger started to fade into clarity. This wasn't about ambition or love. It was about control. They needed her to marry into money. And I wasn't from the right world for that. I opened a few financial databases, old habits from curiosity. Within minutes, I found something interesting. Charles Whitmore's investment firm wasn't doing well. Declining assets, client withdrawals. He'd lost nearly $12 million in managed funds over a year. It wasn't public yet, but it was serious. Then came Linda's side of the story. Her inheritance was locked in a messy court battle. Her siblings accused her of manipulating their father's will. The whole thing was tied up in probate court. They weren't rich, they were pretending to be. House rich, cash poor, drowning under the image they'd built. And Rachel. She was just another piece on their chessboard. They weren't protecting her. They were using her. I sat there for hours, my hands shaking but my mind calm. Every dinner, every smug smile, every "you could do better" made sense now. It wasn't love they were trying to save. It was reputation. I stared at the engagement ring on the nightstand. 3 months of my salary for something her mother called quaint. It looked smaller now, meaningless. By dawn, I stopped feeling sad. All I felt was done. I wasn't going to beg for respect anymore. They wanted a war of appearances. But I was about to show them what quiet power really looked like. By the time the sun came up, my plan was already forming. No shouting, no drama, just precision. If they thought I was average, I'd show them what control looked like. I sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where everything had fallen apart. My coffee went cold as I listed every connection between us. Every bill, every shared card, every tie I could cut cleanly. The lease was in my name. The utilities, too. Even her gym membership and car insurance discount came from me. She made $45,000 a year. Our rent alone was $2,200. Without me, she couldn't qualify to stay here. Not without her parents' help. And that I thought was poetic. I started with the credit card. Removed her as an authorized user. Transferred the balance and canceled the old account. By the next morning, her card would stop working mid-swipe. Then I logged into the apartment portal. Submitted a lease transfer request to put everything under her name. It would require income verification. That would be fun to explain. Utilities came next. Electricity, gas, internet, water, all in my name. I scheduled them to stay active for 30 days. Enough time for her to set up her own accounts. I wasn't cruel, just done. Then I wrote the note. Short, cold, no emotion, no blame. Rachel, I've accepted your decision that you can do better. The apartment lease has been transferred. You've been removed from my credit card. Utilities will remain active until the end of next month. I'll arrange to collect my things later. I wish you the best, Ethan. I read it 3 times. No anger, no bitterness, just clarity. It felt surgical. Like cutting a cord that had been strangling me for months. At 1:00 a.m., I packed what mattered. A few shirts, my laptop, my sketches, and important documents. I hid the bag in the hallway closet. She was asleep, breathing softly, unaware her world was about to change. At 1:30 a.m., I placed the note beside her laptop. My keys next to it. The apartment looked peaceful for the first time in days. I took one last look around, memorizing the quiet. Then I walked out and closed the door without looking back. My friend Matt was waiting for me with his car idling. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a beer when I got in. Rough night, he said. You have no idea, I replied. We drove through empty streets, windows down, silence heavy but freeing. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to calm. No more proving, no more pretending. Just peace. And somewhere between his apartment and dawn, I realized something. Walking away wasn't weakness. It was the most powerful thing I'd ever done. My phone started buzzing before sunrise. Calls, texts, voicemails, her name lighting up the screen again and again. I didn't answer any of them. I sat on Matt's couch, drinking coffee that tasted like freedom. By 8:30, the first message came through. Where are you? Then another. Your note doesn't make sense, call me. Then, you can't just leave like that, we need to talk. By 9:20, the tone shifted. You canceled the credit card. How am I supposed to buy groceries? I almost laughed. This from the woman who said she didn't care about money. I put my phone face down and spent the morning looking for a new apartment. Every hour, her texts multiplied. Anger, confusion, panic. By noon, she was begging me to respond. I didn't. Sometimes silence is the loudest reply. Over the next few days, her tone changed again. I made a mistake. I didn't mean what I said. Please come home, we can fix this. I stayed quiet. Meanwhile, I dug deeper into her family's situation. Curiosity had turned into something like justice. Public records told the story her parents never would. Charles's firm was under investigation for mismanaging client funds. Nothing criminal yet, but serious enough to scare investors away. 2 major clients had already pulled their money. Linda's inheritance dispute was still burning through court fees. Dozens of filings, accusations of fraud, a trust frozen in litigation. They were drowning behind their perfect smiles. They needed Rachel to marry into wealth, not love. And when they realized I might actually become successful, they panicked. They sabotaged us before she could realize what she was losing. On the fourth day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, this is Michael," the voice said. "Rachel's ex." I heard what happened. Her brother told me. I almost hung up, but he sounded genuine. "Her parents did the same thing to me," he said. "They pushed her to end things when they found out my family wasn't rich." I sat in silence. He kept talking. "They act like they're trying to protect her, but it's manipulation. You're not the first, man. They just want control." We talked for 20 minutes. He was decent. At the end, he said, "For what it's worth, she was miserable after we broke up." I thanked him and hung up. That night, I found an apartment in German Village. Small, bright, quiet. A place that felt like mine. While Rachel's messages turned from pleading to desperate, I packed boxes. Day 5, I sent one final text. "I'll collect my things next week. Let me know when you're not home." Her reply came instantly. "Please don't do this. I love you." But I knew better now. Love built on fear and approval isn't love at all. It's dependency wearing perfume. And I'd finally stopped mistaking one for the other. The call came on the 6th day. An unfamiliar number again. For a second, I thought it was another telemarketer. But when I answered, it was her father. "Ethan," Charles said, his voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. "We need to talk." I almost hung up. "There's nothing left to say," I told him. "Please," he said. "Rachel isn't doing well. We'd like to meet." Curiosity got the better of me. So the next morning, I walked into a small cafe near campus. And there they were. Charles, Linda, Rachel, and Tom, all sitting at one table. Rachel's eyes were swollen, her hair messy, her hands shaking. For a moment, she didn't even look like the woman I'd loved. "Ethan," Linda started, "thank you for coming." I didn't respond. I just waited. Charles cleared his throat, like a man rehearsing an apology. "I owe you one," he said. "We misjudged you." I raised an eyebrow. "Now you realize that." He sighed. "I did some research, called people. I had no idea you were leading such a major project." I almost laughed. "So it takes a headline for me to be worth your respect." Linda jumped in. "We were wrong, completely. You're talented, hardworking, everything a parent wants." Rachel reached across the table. "I know I messed up. I was scared, Ethan. I let them get in my head." Her voice cracked mid-sentence. "I love you." I never stopped. I leaned back in my chair, watching them all. The perfect family, finally looking imperfect. "You didn't just get in her head," I said to her parents. "You built the walls around it." Charles looked down. "I thought I was protecting her." "No," I said quietly. "You were protecting your image." The table went silent. Rachel wiped her tears, whispering, "Please, can we just start over?" I looked at her. "I don't want to be someone you need," I said. "I want to be someone you choose." Her lips trembled. "I do choose you." "No," I said softly. "When it mattered, you chose them." Linda tried again. "People make mistakes, Ethan. Surely that deserves forgiveness." I nodded. "It does, but forgiveness doesn't mean returning to the fire." Charles looked older, defeated. They weren't just ashamed, they were desperate. And I knew why. Their finances were collapsing. They didn't want me back for love. They wanted stability, a safety net. Rachel said, "I'll move to your new place. I'll pay my own way. I'll cut them off if that's what it takes." Her parents flinched at that. And in that moment, everything became clear. "You don't have to prove anything," I said. "It's already over." She reached for my hand. I stood up before she could touch me. "Take care of yourself, Rachel," I said quietly. Then I walked away. Outside, the cold air felt clean, each step lighter than the last. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone's expectations, just my own peace. I didn't look back when I left the cafe. The sound of the door closing felt like a final chapter ending. Outside, the morning light hit my face, and for once I could breathe. There was no anger left, just clarity. I walked to my car and realized how quiet the world sounded without her voice. No more questions, no more doubt. Just silence, clean and sharp. That night, I moved into my new apartment. The boxes were small, the space half empty, but it felt real. I made coffee, opened the window, and watched the city lights flicker. The same city I helped build piece by piece. Somewhere out there, she was probably crying, maybe regretting it all. But regret doesn't rebuild what trust destroyed. Love without respect is just dependence. And I was finally free from it. I sat at my desk, sketching again for the first time in weeks. Each line felt lighter, like I was drawing my way back to myself. Sometimes peace doesn't come from fixing things. It comes from walking away and not turning around. That's how I found mine.